Dune Part 2 is a freaking masterpiece. Oh my goodness. Felt like Stilgar the whole time watching it. You know, that meme format. Just, oh my goodness, what am I witnessing? This film was incredible. The visuals, the cast, the action, the story, the adapting of the book. It felt like the words were leaping off the page and onto the screen. I mean, this thing was incredible. Ever since I've watched part 1 and read the book right after watching part 1, I've looked forward to this movie. I finished the book, closed it, and said, man, I cannot wait for part 2. And this film lived up to my expectations. It might have even exceeded my expectations in a lot of different areas. Everyone's talking about how good this film is. I thought this film was incredible. Is it perfect though? No. It does have its flaws. We'll get to those in a little bit. But man, like, bravo. The whole Dune 2 team. Bravo. Just an incredible job. Incredible. Everything on the movie side, the film side, you know, the visuals, the effects, the casting, the costume design, the music. Oh my goodness, the music was incredible. Everything is so well. This is cinema, baby. This is cinema. I just want to say before we get into this any further, there will be spoilers ahead. I thought about making this a spoiler-free review, but it's also been over a month since the film came out, so I feel like that's a long enough time to wait to talk about spoilers. But I will say this, if you have not seen Dune Part 2 yet, do not watch the rest of this video. Go ahead, click away, go see the movie, then come back, please. Don't spoil this for yourself. Please go watch the movie first. But if you're someone who just doesn't care about spoilers for some reason, or if you're someone who's seen the movie already, let's go ahead and dive into this thing. Dune Part 2 picks up pretty much directly after the events of the first one. Paul and his mother Jessica are with the Fremen, hiding out from the Harkonnens after their retakeover of Arrakis and their slaughter of the Atreides people with the help of the Emperor's Sardaukar. Paul is set on revenge. He wants to take revenge on the Imperium, on the Harkonnens, for killing off, really, his people. During his time with the Fremen, he starts adapting to their culture, becoming one of the Fremen, and a lot of the Fremen, including Stilgar, start believing that he is their savior. I just want to say, before I get into any of Paul's names or a lot of the different Dune terms, I will butcher these pronouncements. I will absolutely get these wrong. I've tried. I've read the books. I cannot pronounce these to save my life. I know what they mean. I know how to use them. I just cannot freaking pronounce them. It's like my Spanish. I get the gist. I understand it. I just cannot speak it. And so, I'm sorry, I need to spend more time on Duolingo learning the language of the Fremen, learning the language of Dune, but bear with my absolute slaughtering of these names, and we'll get through this. The Fremen believe that Paul is Isan al-Gaib, that he is their savior, the voice from the outer world, who will save them, that will restore Arrakis to the Fremen, and will make Dune into the paradise it once was. Jessica is over here on the sidelines, you know, doing her little witch magic, you know, planting those seeds into the minds of the Fremen that, hey, Paul might be this guy that you've been waiting for, that, you know, my sisterhood has promised is coming. He might be that guy. And Jessica also believes that Paul is the Ishwak Kishwak Haderach. The Quishquak Haderach. This is the one I struggle with the most. The Kiswak Haderach. The one who can be in many places at once. That's what that means.
For he is the Kwisatz Haderach.
So she believes that he's also this promised person that the Bene Gesserit have been waiting for as well. So you have both the Fremen and the Bene Gesserit waiting for this person that will save them, that will restore the universe, or at least on the Bene Gesserit side, give them complete control over the entire universe. Paul starts playing into this idea to rally the Fremen to his side to fight the Imperium, to fight the Harkonnens. Meanwhile, also falling in love with Chani, one of the Fremen, and she's completely against this whole idea of an outsider coming and saving the Fremen. She believes that the Fremen will save Fremen and that these prophecies are just Bene Gesserit propaganda, which, fair enough. So Dune Part 2 is all about Paul and his quest for revenge, and also his struggle with whether or not he should fully embrace this savior role that both the Fremen and Jessica want him to be, all while struggling with remaining who he is. Because he's seen what happens when he gains control, and it's not exactly a pretty picture. Okay, let's get into this thing. First and foremost, everyone's talking about this, and we'll spend little time on this just because it's been such a widely known point, but I gotta address it. Y'all, the film looks incredible. I mean, this is the type of film that sticks with you. That the images, the effects, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful film to look at, to watch. After watching the film, I went back and watched the trailers just so I could see those visuals again. I mean, it is such a beautiful looking film, but they use CGI well here. And actually, when you see it used the way they use it here, with the way that they use it here, you can actually see the power of CGI and what it opens the door to do. And when used correctly, it's an extremely cool tool to use. So this film is just, oh my goodness, it's incredible to look at. The fight sequences are awesome, especially that final fight having no music. That was awesome. But even though there was no music in that sequence, the rest of the film, the musical score for this film, blown away. Some of Hans Zimmer's best work. And let me tell you, he has a ton of good film scores. This thing stands out. I mean, Dune Part 2's score is absolutely mind-blowing. It's absolutely incredible. I'm still listening to it. It's on repeat on my Spotify. Look, I could probably go on for 30 more minutes about all the things I loved about this film. Nobody probably wants to listen to all of that. But as great as this film was, there were certain things, certain decisions that I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of. And really, it's just with changes from the book. Chani is different from in the book. She's a lot more skeptical, a lot less supportive of Paul and his ascension to imperial power than she was in the book. She's actually very supportive in the book, kind of follows along blindly as far as I can remember. I will say this before I go any further on to Chani. I do actually like that she's doubting. That she's like, hey man, don't lose yourself. I liked those changes. It's more with how they ended with Chani, with her leaving Paul, as far as we know. That I wasn't a huge fan of. And not even so much for this movie, but for the next movie. I think it leaves the next film in a very weird place and has to do a lot more explaining now than it did before. Because Chani's a very important character in the second book. So I think now starting the third movie with that kind of conflict between Chani and Paul, I don't think that was the best move. I don't think that was the best decision. And I understand what the director was trying to do here. He was trying to show that Paul's decision wasn't necessarily the heroic decision. And kind of stress that, Frank Herbert, as far as I understand it, was not exactly thrilled that a lot of people viewed Paul as a hero in the first book. He wanted it to be more of an anti-hero. And so the director added this kind of conflict with Chani to show that maybe Paul wasn't the hero of this story. And so I get the change, but I think there might have been another way. I think there might have been a better way to do that might not hurt the story of the third film. But also, I won't know what it does to the third film until that thing comes out. So, also, Alia, I believe that's how you say her name, Paul's sister, isn't in the film. And I was kind of disappointed by that. I really like Alia in the book. I think she's a very interesting character. And one of my favorite moments was when she kills the Baron Harkonnen. You just see this toddler kill the big bad. It's like a shocking moment. It's a super cool moment. And then it's also kind of hilarious. I understand why this would be practically difficult. And I also think it'd be hard for any child actor to accurately portray this character, at least in my opinion. A child with an adult consciousness and with the memories of so many lives before hers, that would be hard to portray. And so I understand that part. Still, I was disappointed that wasn't in the movie. I like the contrast, though, that they added now that Paul kills the Baron instead of Alia. Paul, in the end of part 1, struggling to kill Jameis, while in the end of the second book, he does not, even for a second, struggle killing the Baron. And so I like that kind of showing of Paul's development as a character in that. I will also say this. I wish this film was longer. I truly do. This film, for the most part, does so well with its characters. Paul, Chani, Jessica, Stilgar, Fade Rothma, even Gurney. I felt like they did a really good job with those characters. I think, however, with the characters from the Imperium, we could have spent more time with them. Could have gotten to know them a little bit more. I realize Princess Irulan, again, I hope I said that name right, is a lot bigger character in the second book. And if the third movie's made, we'll have a lot bigger of a role in that movie. But man, I wish we could have seen more of her here. But also, it's not like they introduced these characters poorly or used them poorly. I'm not upset with the portrayals of the Emperor or Princess Irulan or any of that. Anything with the Imperium side. I just wish we got to see them more. All that being said, I wish there was more. I wish we were in the film a little bit longer. There are certain moments where things do drag a little bit, where we might get a little bit more information than we needed to. But I'm also struggling with the fact that I want more Dune. Like, I want this film to be 4 hours long. And here's the thing about the changes that I think are different from other modern adaptations of books or other source materials. These changes, I can see where they're coming from. I can see what the director was thinking. Like, even though I was disappointed Alia wasn't in it, even though I might not agree with certain character decisions with Chani, even though he removed certain characters like Paul and Chani's first child, the Menat, I'm forgetting his name, like Torfer or something, from the first movie, even though they removed certain characters, went different directions with characters, I can see why they made those changes. The changes can be justified. Even though I was disappointed by them, I can understand why those changes were made. I feel like in a lot of modern adaptations, you cannot justify the changes. And I think that that's why Dune 2 is such a good adaptation. They only change where they need to, or to better present an idea that was in the original source material. They don't just make stuff up. They don't just change things for the sake of changing things, or because they thought that that would be cooler than what was in the actual book. They make changes to help better tell the story, or to help better express an idea that was in the original book, or that was the original author's intention. I love that, and it shows a love and a care for the source material that I just don't think we see much in modern movies, in modern adaptations. Dune Part 2 was something special. I absolutely loved this film. I cannot wait to see this thing again. I'm really glad they decided to make these movies because it got me into the books. I've only read the first 3. I'm debating about 4, 5, and 6. I've heard it just gets absolutely crazy, just so weird. And I thought 3 was already weird. So I'm not sure I'm ready for 4, 5, and 6, but I love Dune Part 2. And man, it was an experience. But that's it from me. Let me know down below what you guys thought about Dune Part 2. And if you've made it this far, type below Madeeb to let me know. As always, thank you guys for stopping by, watching the video. I truly do appreciate it. I love you guys. And until next time, peace out, bro skillets.